Hello and welcome to the brand new episode of the Race Room Grid Talk with me, Kevin, and none other than the head of the KW Studios, JF.
Hello.
Hi, it's a pleasure to have you here, JF.
Yeah, it's really a pleasure to be here. Yeah?
So we are hosting a new episode of the Race Room Grid Talk, and we're bringing every month new updates about the race room world, as well as having iconic guests from the real and the virtual racing world, and we're very much looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be interesting. I don't know how often you will get this podcast out, but I will be watching all the episodes. Yeah. And I'm very proud to be on the first one.
So very good. Yeah, we plan every 4 to 5 weeks. Let's
Nice.
see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
So always when you have something new to tell about the race room racing game, as well as something happening in the big world of KW.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be really cool. And Race Room is going from strength to strength. So really interesting. How was your perception of the last few months, the status quo of Race Room, just to give us an introduction?
Yeah, an introduction. I mean, to Race Room, it's a game that has been out for 10 years, and it has, in the development cycle, it has ups and downs. And right now, we are definitely in a positive and fast period of development where things are really moving. We have improved our graphical engine significantly, like better looking, better performing. We are also working in parallel with the backend for racing players out there. They know that our backend has been a bit so. Sometimes when we released content in the past, the game would go down and it was annoying, and we are redoing this backend from scratch, which will not only allow for a more robust service, but also UI features. As you might not know, the game has a UI that is web-based and that heavily relies on servers and logic behind to run this UI.
Yeah.
So that will allow us to make all kinds of new features in the future, and all of that is happening right now. And the first thing that the players will discover will be this graphic update coming on 4th of September.
So it's a very exciting future weeks ahead, and also big content updates coming up. And we will actually take a look at the very first one, the DTM car pack from 1995. That looks spectacular, JF. Really cool stuff coming up. And I think it's always a perfect match when you're not only having the old school cars, but also having the tracks to match that. So it's a much more immersive feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And so very cool that you guys have Avos, Diepholz, and the Hockenheimring Classic.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about the new retro vintage content?
Yeah, it's content that I really love because I'm in my 40s now, and as a kid I started loving motorsport with those cars in mid-90s, even earlier. But yeah, it's a nice nostalgic feeling to have those cars. So for me, it's pretty exciting. I love those, and once they're out, I will only be driving them.
And everybody at home has to upgrade to a sequential gearbox, I guess.
And I might leave with one of yours.
Yeah,
hide it in my suitcase.
Really cool. And about the historic tracks, I mean, they are so iconic. Everyone hears them or knows about them from old videos on YouTube. Everyone loves watching jumping the cars over curbs, and it's so cool to be able to feel that at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it always gives me goosebumps to take a look at footage from that time. And actually, we have prepared a trailer from that time, from footage from that time, and I'm very excited to take a look at that. Thomas Voss interviews next. Legendary DTM moments, GF. Like I said, I have goosebumps now just watching this. And we saw two very special cars in the video that will be featured and complete the car lineup from 1995, which is the Alfa Romeo 155. Everyone loves this car. It sounds amazing.
It's iconic.
It's very iconic. And the Opel Calibra V6, also a very popular car back in the day and still until now. How do you feel about the new update? And you grow up in that time. I mean, it's.
I mean, my first remote car that you had to build yourself was the Alfa 155. So it's a very personal relationship to these cars. For this update, for this pack, we've been looking at all the reference that we have from ADAC, who have been very, very helpful, providing all the archiving that they could find. All the homologation papers and all of that. So
very interesting, huh? To take a look at that.
It's great. And then so the cars, we already had the Mercedes, and that came into RaceRoom through the 30 years anniversary of Mercedes and DTM. So 30 years of DTM. That was like 2018, somewhere like that. It's been released then, but alone. And it's always been a missing feeling, like something is missing. That's not right. It should be having its mate. And there are so many liveries for the Alpha. The grid was, I think, 35 cars. So just only having the Mercedes was, something was really missing. And now we're finally bringing the whole thing, the whole full grid of DTM 95. And together, like you were saying, with the tracks, because in RaceRoom we have modern tracks and even tracks with a long history are there in the game as their modern
counterpart,
current counterpart. Hockenheim, for example, was very different back then. For those who might not know, it was going straight into the forest, and then you had a chicane. You going back through the forest.
To the Motodrome.
Yes. So Hockenheim, that will be released. Will feel very different for anyone who was not familiar with what it was before. So it's very exciting to bring this new content in the game for sure.
Yeah. So all the old DTM lovers, they have something to race at home.
Absolutely.
Finally, the full grid of the 1995, and like we said, new racetracks. So cool.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to some spectacular replays on Deepholz and Avus.
You know what's funny for this update, for this car pack, there was something about these cars when you were next to the track and watching them pass. It was the sound of the engine from the front as the car was coming to you, versus the different sound when
they passed you.
They passed you. So you had like engine and then exhaust. And that we have implemented into the sound engine. So there will be a sound engine update that allows to have different sounding cars when they are coming towards the camera, and a different sample when they are leaving or going away. So you will hear all the pistons
working
as the car comes comes towards you, and then the exhaust, pure sounds when it what's going away.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So a very special detail.
So if you enjoy watching replays, you will have a good time with this.
With these cars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's take a look together at our today's plan for this episode. JF, we have the DTM Car Pack 1995 coming up, new track updates that are planned for Race Room, as well as the current Car Pack 2024 with all liveries, 2 new cars, and the big Race Room graphic update, which will be really interesting to get to know more about what's happening there and what happened there. And of course, all with some really interesting interview guests. Excited for today's show.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Lot of things to talk about.
Thank you very much so far, JF. Really, really cool and interesting. But now we have our very first guest, Mr. Thomas Voss, head of ADAC Motorsport. And this part of the interview we're going to do in German, but you guys will have subtitles, so it should be no problem. Thank you for your time, Mr. Voss. Vielen Dank für die Zeit. Wir freuen uns, mit Ihnen zu sprechen. Und wir haben gerade den DTM Car Pack 1995 Trailer gesehen. Richtig coole Footage. Was sagen Sie zu den beiden neuen Fahrzeugen, dem Alfa Romeo 155 Ti und dem Opel Calibra V6? Ich meine, die Zeit kennen Sie gut. Wie fühlt sich das an für Sie?
Ich will jetzt nicht mein Alter outen, aber ich glaube, ich bin noch einer der wenigen, der die kompletten 40 Jahre DTM miterlebt hat. Meine Anfänge als Fan, aber hinterher eben auch beruflich in verschiedenen Rollen. Ja, und das war die Hochzeit der DTM oder eine der Hochzeiten der DTM, Mitte der 90er, mit dem Mercedes C-Klasse, mit dem Alfa, mit dem Opel Calibra. Klasse Autos, nicht nur optisch, hochtechnisch. Die Autos hatten damals wirklich Formel-1-Niveau. Das war wirklich eine der Hochphasen der DTM. Und wie gesagt, hochtechnisch die Autos. Wenn man die mal hört, vom Sound her, Sechszylindermotoren, zum Verlieben hätte ich jetzt beinahe gesagt. Also wirklich eine ganz tolle Zeit und tolle Erinnerungen an diese Rennen. Von daher, ja, toll, dass das einer aufleben lässt und dass die jetzt eben auch im Simracing zu nutzen sind.
Ja, ganz genau. Und richtig spannend ist natürlich auch nicht nur die Fahrzeuge, die dann selber zu fahren, sondern natürlich auch auf genau den Strecken in den Layouts, wie die damals eben konfiguriert waren. Und das waren eben ganz besondere Strecken. Damals gab es nicht so viele Rennstrecken. Und richtig cool, dass da Race Room mit Avus, Diepholz und auch der Hockenheimring Classic-Variante da 3 Strecken bringt. Und was können Sie denn da sagen? Wie war damals das Feeling, dort direkt vor Ort zu sein oder die Autos so zu erleben auf genau den Rennstrecken?
Das sind natürlich Rennstrecken, mit denen man im Grunde genommen den Motorsport zu den Menschen gebracht hat. Die Stadtkurse, die Flughafenkurse, Diepholz, Wunsdorf, das waren wirklich Zeiten, da sind die Leute in Scharen hingepilgert, also häufig sechsstellige Besucherzahlen. Wir hatten Stars auf den Autos mit einem Keke Rosberg, also dem Vater vom Nico, mit Hans-Joachim Stuck, mit Bernd Schneider, Klaus Ludwig damals auch noch, Gary Paffett, also auch internationale Stars, die entweder von der DTM aus in die Formel 1 gegangen sind oder von der Formel 1 zurückgekommen sind in die DTM, weil es wirklich auch so anspruchsvoll war wie in der Formel 1. Und das haben die Leute damals gutiert, die hatten Riesenfans. Das war auch natürlich die Zeit, der Aufstieg von Michael Schumacher. Das heißt, Motorsport war sowieso in aller Munde. Und da hat die DTM super reingepasst. Und wie gesagt, durch diese Rennstrecken, die dann eben nicht in der Hocheifel oder in der Niederlausitz waren, sondern im Zentrum, dort, wo auch die Menschen leben, also Diepholz, Großraum Bremen, Hannover, war es dann leichtes für die Fans dorthin zu kommen. Und damals auch wirklich volksnahe Preise, ein tolles Umfeld auch bei den Rennen selber. Wie gesagt, häufig sechsstellige Besucherzahlen und war wirklich eine klasse Zeit.
Ja. Und umso schöner, dass wir dieses Jahr 40 Jahre DTM feiern dürfen gemeinsam. Ist auch nicht selbstverständlich, dass eine Rennserie so lange so erfolgreich ist. Was können Sie denn dazu sagen? 40 Jahre, das hat sich so viel getan. Einfach mal Ihre Eindrücke zu den ganzen Äras, die wir da durchgangen sind. Vielleicht können Sie da ein bisschen uns teilhaben lassen an dem Jubiläum dieses Jahr.
Ja, klar, gerne. Ja, 40 Jahre. Ich glaube, außer der Formel 1 und der NASCAR in Amerika gibt es nicht viele Rennserien, die dieses Alter schaffen. War eine kleine Unterbrechung von 97 bis 2000, war mal 3 Jahre ohne DTM, beziehungsweise man hat im Hintergrund an neuen Fahrzeugen gearbeitet. Ja, die Geschichte, also im Grunde genommen hat es Mitte der 80er angefangen, mit teilweise wirklich ganz exotischen Autos, mit Marken, die es heute gar nicht mehr gibt, mit Rover, Volvo, also wirklich auch Autos, die man gar nicht unbedingt in den Motorsport sehen wollte. Das waren so die ersten 2, 3 Jahre. Dann kamen die ersten BMW M3, 190er Mercedes, wo also dann auch die Hersteller mit teilgenommen haben, Ford mit dem Sierra, danach Audi mit dem V8. Also die Hersteller haben wirklich diese DTM aufgrund der Beliebtheit und der Popularität auch bei den Zuschauern für sich entdeckt, haben Fahrzeuge, spezielle Homologationsfahrzeuge dafür entwickelt. Also ich glaube, so ein 190er Mercedes Evo 2, das sind heute Autos gesucht, teilweise sechsstellige Summen, die dafür bezahlt werden, sind auch nur 500 Stück gebaut worden, genauso vom M3. Da gab es verschiedene Sondermodelle. Das hat sich dann hin entwickelt, dass man gesagt hat, naja, also wir wollen noch ein bisschen technologischer werden, hochwertiger werden, ist dann von Vierzylinder auf Sechszylindermotoren gegangen. Das war Anfang der 90er. Ähm, und hat diese Zeit dann wirklich bis Ende der 90er durchlebt. Wie gesagt, angefangen mit, dann gab es natürlich auch Fahrzeugwechsel bei den einzelnen Herstellern. Also man ist immer danach gegangen und das zeichnet die DTM ja aus, möglichst seriennahe Fahrzeuge zu haben, also Fahrzeuge, mit denen man sich identifizieren konnte, die man am besten selber auch zu Hause hatte. Natürlich nicht in der Leistungsstärke und nicht in der Optik, aber man konnte die C-Klasse Mercedes auch mit dem C-Klasse, die man zu Hause hatte, oder den Dreier BMW, wirklich auch vergleichen und hat einen Riesenhype genommen, hochtechnisch. Dann ist aber immer so, wenn man dann, naja, zu weit hinaus will und so, the sky is the limit, dann geht man natürlich schnell oder übersieht man dann so ein paar Dinge, die der Markt dann einfach nur hergibt. Das heißt, es ist richtig teuer geworden. Und Ende 96 haben damals Alfa Romeo und Opel gemeinsam den Ausstieg aus der DTM bekannt gegeben, so dass Mercedes dann am Ende des Tages alleine war und diese DTM eingestellt worden ist für 3 Jahre. Man hat dann 2000 wieder angefangen mit einem völlig neuen Fahrzeugkonzept. Aber auch da waren die Hersteller wieder dahinter, angefangen mit Mercedes und Opel. Und Audi ist dann mit einem Audi TT dazugekommen, über Abt Sportsline eingesetzt. Ein ziemlich skurriles Fahrzeug, weil der technisch nicht ganz in der Optik reingepasst hat, hat man den im Heckbereich ein bisschen verlängert. Der sah also etwas seltsam aus, wenn man den so gesehen hat. Waren schon Achtzylindermotoren drin, also auch hochtechnisch, Leistung, Sound, alles hat wieder gestimmt. Dann eben auch bekannte Fahrer über einen langen Zeitraum aus der Formel 1 gekommen, Ralf Schumacher, Jean Alesi, Mika Häkkinen, David Coulthard, also alles Leute, die man auch aus der Formel 1 kannte, weil eben auch da wieder von der Technik her sehr nah am Formelauto, sehr leistungsstark und auch wieder eine hohe Akzeptanz. Ähm, und die Hersteller haben das wirklich genutzt, diese DTM-Plattform, für ihre Marketingzwecke. Und das hat wirklich gedauert bis vor 5 Jahren. Da sind diese sogenannten Class One-Fahrzeuge, das ist also Class One hat im Augenblick, hat im Grunde genommen ein Technikreglement dargestellt, dann umgestellt worden sind von Achtzylindermotoren auf Vierzylinder-Turbomotoren, weil auf der Straße auch das Thema Downsizing kam. Ja, das hat relativ hohe Entwicklungskosten damals nach sich gezogen. Und auch da kam dann irgendwann die Kostenbremse und in dem Fall sogar Mercedes als erster ausgestiegen. Ähm, das war im Grunde genommen dann so ein bisschen der Todesstoß für dieses Class One-Reglement. Und dann ist man vor 5 Jahren hergegangen oder vor 4 Jahren hergegangen und hat umgestellt auf das GT3-Reglement, also auf aktuelle Fahrzeuge. Supersportwagen, relativ seriennah sogar noch, zwar mit Abtrieb und auch leistungsstark, aber es ist so, dass bei dem ein oder anderen Fahrzeug das Serienauto sogar mehr Leistung hat als das Rennauto. Das versucht man natürlich, um die verschiedenen Fahrzeugkonzepte möglichst leicht zu machen, also dass sie auch wirklich gegeneinander fahren können. Man muss ja sehen, wir fahren mit einem 10-Zylinder Audi mit Mittelmotor, dann fahren wir einen M4 BMW mit einem 3 Liter Biturbo Frontmotor, wir fahren mit einem Porsche mit 6-Zylinder Boxer Sauger als Heckmotor. Und dazwischen haben wir alles von Turbomotoren, Sechszylinder, Achtzylinder, Zehnzylinder, Frontantrieb, Frontantrieb haben wir nicht, Frontmotor und Heckmotoren, Mittelmotoren, alle Heckantrieb, Allrad ist verboten. Ein paar Fahrhilfen haben wir mit ABS und ein paar andere Dinge dran. Und um diese verschiedenen Fahrzeugkonzepte gleich zu machen, gibt es eine sogenannte Balance of Performance. Aber diese GT3-Fahrzeuge als solche werden weltweit eingesetzt in verschiedenen Serien. Ähm, Üblicherweise mit zwei oder mehr Fahrern auf dem Fahrzeug, je nachdem, wie lang das Rennen dauert. Und in der DTM haben wir uns dazu entschieden, als einzige Rennserie weltweit, diese Fahrzeuge nur mit einem Fahrer auf dem Fahrzeug zu besetzen, während des Rennens auch einen Performance-Reifenstopp zu machen, einen Reifenwechsel zu machen, also wirklich auf Zeit, so wie man es auch aus der Formel 1 kennt. Auf Nachtanken haben wir verzichtet, weil das ist relativ aufwendig, was die Sicherheitsfeatures dann in der Boxengasse angeht. Ja, und jetzt fahren wir so im vierten Jahr. Und jetzt auch im 40. Jahr. Ich glaube, sehr erfolgreich, mit steigendem Erfolg. Wir fahren 8-mal in alle deutschen Rennstrecken, Red Bull Ring und Zandvoort in Österreich und den Niederlanden. Steigende Zuschauerzahlen zeigen, dass wir da auf dem richtigen Weg sind. Und ja, so kann es weitergehen. Und wir als ADAC haben jetzt vor 1,5 Jahren die Rechte übernommen für die DTM und wollen die DTM also in eine lange Zukunft führen, sodass wir die 50, 60, 75 auch noch erleben. Und eine tolle Geschichte, die die DTM wirklich genommen hat, über 40 Jahre, einfach wirklich auch erfolgreich weiterführen.
Und
Ja.
die Fans dürfen natürlich auch teilhaben an dem Jubiläum. Was habt ihr denn da was haben Sie denn da genau geplant dieses Jahr an den Rennstrecken, wo die DTM auch stattfindet oder an sonstigen Aktionen?
Ja, also wir hatten eigentlich unsere Geburtstagsfeier haben wir so ein bisschen größer gefeiert am Norrisring, weil der Norrisring auch ein bisschen einzigartig für die DTM ist. Ist halt auch noch ein Stadtrennen mitten in Nürnberg. Also das ist auch so ein bisschen weg von diesen neuen Rennstrecken, also Tradition auch bewahren. Da haben wir ein Legendentreffen gemacht, haben also möglichst viele Fahrer und Teamchefs aus den 40 Jahren DTM zusammengeholt am Samstagabend, haben so ein kleines Come-Together gemacht, alte Geschichten ausgetauscht und es haben sich wirklich ganz viele ehemalige, auch seit langer Jahren wieder getroffen. Wir haben aber auch für die Fans natürlich einiges vorbereitet. Auch am Norrisring hatten wir ein DTM-Klassikrennen, wo also alte DTM-Autos gegeneinander gefahren sind. Denken drüber nach, das vielleicht zum Saisonfinale in Hockenheim nochmal zu machen. Wir haben ein spezielles Poster, wo alle 40 Siegerfahrzeuge der letzten Jahre abgebildet sind. Wir haben am Norrisring, beziehungsweise werden auch bei den nächsten Rennen noch eine spezielle Sonnenbrille verteilen zu der einen oder anderen Gelegenheit und bei der einen oder anderen Aktion. Wir haben ja sowieso unsere Fanzone bei allen Veranstaltungen dabei mit interessanten Ideen für Jung und Alt und Beschäftigungsmöglichkeiten. Für die ganz Kleinen haben wir Europas modernstes Bällebad. Wir haben Reifenwechselwettbewerbe. Wir haben aber auch jetzt gerade im 40. Jahr immer ein oder mehrere ehemalige DTM-Fahrzeuge dabei, so dass man sich auch so wirklich in diese Historie ein bisschen reinversetzen kann. Und wir haben natürlich auch Simracing vor Ort, also entsprechende Simulatoren, wo die Leute, wo jeder sich mal versuchen kann. Und Das ist was für Jung und Alt, wird toll angenommen, weil ich glaube, das hat sich ein bisschen verändert in den 40 Jahren. Früher hat man sich auf die Tribüne gesetzt und den ganzen Tag Autorennen geguckt. Heute erwarten die Menschen mehr von einer Motorsportveranstaltung. Und da gehört eben auch ein bisschen Umfeldaktivitäten dazu. Die wollen wir bieten, die bieten wir auch. Und wie gesagt, die Akzeptanz ist gut. Wir haben vom vergangenen Jahr auf dieses Jahr praktisch an allen Rennstrecken einen Zuschauerzuwachs von rund 30%. Und was ganz besonders erfreulich ist, auch wahrscheinlich für euch, 30% aller Ticketinhaber, die wir haben, sind unter 18 Jahre. Und das heißt, Eintritt ist bei der DTM bis 16 Jahre frei. Auch da merken wir, es kommen wieder ganz viele Familien hin und ist für uns natürlich ein Zweck, die jungen Leute auch an den Motorsport ranzuführen. Ja, und es funktioniert. Von daher alles gut.
Ja, das sind wirklich beeindruckende Zahlen und auch sehr, sehr schöne, positive Zahlen. Wirklich toll, dass sich das in genau die Richtung entwickelt, wie es auch eigentlich sein sollte. Ein Festival für die ganze Familie. Und mit Simracing hat man eben die Chance, auch mal selber in das Cockpit zu schlüpfen und wenn auch nur virtuell. Aber das ist eben eine ganz, ganz tolle Möglichkeit. Hätten Sie denn gedacht, dass wirklich mal Simracing so eine Relevanz hat, auch in der Zielgruppe von der jüngeren Generation? Oder wie schätzen Sie die Entwicklung ein und die Bedeutung von Simracing im Motorsport?
Ja, also die habe ich eigentlich immer sehr hoch eingeschätzt, auch wenn ich jetzt so ein bisschen gesetzteres Alter bin. Wir sind mit Simracing ja die einzige Sportart, wo Bewegungsabläufe, wo Verhältnisse, die im Fahrzeug stattfinden, wirklich eins zu eins vom realen Fahrzeug auf in die digitale Welt rüber transferiert werden können. Bei allen anderen Sportspielen habe ich halt einen Controller in der Hand oder sonst irgendwas. Wenn ich FIFA spiele oder andere Sportspiele, das sind halt von den Bewegungsabläufen, von den auch kognitiven Fähigkeiten ganz andere Themen, die ich im E-Sport brauche gegenüber dem realen Sport. Und beim Motorsport, speziell beim Automobilsport, ist es halt so, ich habe das Lenkrad genauso in der Hand mit Force Feedback, im Zweifelsfalle, wie gesagt, im Motion Simulator sogar noch die Bewegungen des Fahrzeugs. Den Sound habe ich ganz genauso rübergebracht. Von daher, ja, einfach die Möglichkeit, sowohl zu spielen als auch über das Spiel irgendwann in das reale Fahrzeug zu kommen. Und da haben wir ja mittlerweile auch genügend Beispiele, wie in Tim Heinemann, und andere, Laurin Heinrich, die über Simracing, mehr oder weniger in den realen Sport eingestiegen sind. Und auch da haben wir eben die Möglichkeit, reale Welt und digitale Welt miteinander zu verknüpfen. Und ich glaube, da sind wir wirklich eine der wenigen Sportarten und Disziplinen, wo das überhaupt geht.
Ganz genau, also das ist auch quasi die letzte Frage von unserem Interview. Die neue DTM E-Sports-Saison steht bevor und wie Sie es gerade gesagt haben, einige von den Jungs, die da sehr erfolgreich sind, haben jetzt auch schon den Step in den echten Motorsport geschafft. Und ist es denn das Ziel auch von dem ADAC, die virtuelle und die reale Motorsportwelt stärker zu verknüpfen? Und was genau, wenn ja, was erhoffen Sie sich da davon?
Ja, also ich sag's mal so, das ist natürlich ein Ziel, aber ich würde es gar nicht immer so im Ausschlussverfahren machen. Wenn einer sich auf Simracing spezialisiert hat und im Simracing bleiben möchte, dann soll er das gerne tun. Wenn ein realer Fahrer sagt, nee, ich kann also mit dem Simulator und dem alles nichts anfangen, kenne ich auch einige, die sagen, nee, da wird man immer schlecht drin und ich brauche das auch nicht gegen die 14-jährigen Spezialisten, Simracing-Spezialisten jetzt jedes Wochenende zu verlieren. Es gibt andere wie den Max Verstappen, der selber während des Rennwochenendes noch bis 3 Uhr morgens vor dem PC sitzt und gegen andere spielt. Ähm, Es ist toll, wenn das funktioniert, aus der virtuellen Welt in die digitale Welt. Und wir bieten ja auch gerade mit der DTM E-Sport Championship Testfahrten dann an als Gewinn für denjenigen, der wirklich die Meisterschaft gewinnt im GT4-Auto, also wirklich auch mal in die reale Welt reinzuschnuppern. Und ein Moritz Löhner zum Beispiel ist 2 komplette Saisons im GT4-Auto gefahren. Wie gesagt, Tim Heinemann ein tolles Beispiel, Laurin Heinrich ein tolles Beispiel. Da gibt es auch ganz viele andere. Es ist also eine Möglichkeit, auch in den realen Sport zu kommen, aber nicht die einzige. Zumindest mal ist die günstigste. Äh, Bisschen schwer tun wir uns noch mit der Förderung von reinen Sim-Racern. Da denken wir immer wieder drüber nach. Wir haben ja auch ein Förderprogramm für Sportler im Motorsport-Team Germany. Da sind wir eigentlich jedes Jahr, stehen wir vor der Frage, fördern wir auch Sim-Racer, also professionelle Sim-Racer, die ja auch teilweise bei den realen Rennteams fahren und eingestellt sind. Also schöne neue Welt, sage ich nur. Und für mich ist das eine Ergänzung zum Motorsport und nicht ein entweder virtuell oder real, sondern ein sowohl als auch.
Ja. Herzlichen Dank, Herr Voss, für die wirklich spannenden Insights. Ich denke, wir werden uns auf der einen oder anderen Rennstrecke bestimmt mal wiedersehen. Darauf freue ich mich. Und genau, dann sehen wir uns bald. Bis dann.
Alles klar, danke, ciao.
Danke.
A lot of interesting things to say by Mr. Voss, and also excited for the 2 new cars and 3 new tracks from the 1995 season. But that's not it. There's more coming in the new race room update, correct?
There is always a lot coming in race room updates because we have the entire team is busy, and you have car artists, track artists, programmers. Everybody is busy, and all the fruit of their work is going into each update. And here on the track side, every update we do, we always try and keep our tracks up to date with their current real life counterpart. And that's important for anybody going to a time attack or a track day or even a race driver practicing for an upcoming race. It's important that the track is exactly how we will find it when he shows up to the paddock. And this is something that sets us slightly apart. I think it's in the way that we release a track and we don't stop there. We keep it alive and we keep it up to date every year. Every season there are changes to all kinds of tracks. Monza, for example, is a big topic right now. And we look at the changes for each track and we estimate, okay, this is going to be this amount of work. And when it's not so much work, we can provide the update for free. And that's what we have been doing. There has been a Portimao update in RaceRoom quite recently, and we keep all our tracks up to date, like I said. Then we have been working on the Nordschleife upgrade for this 2024 season. There have been quite many changes, many talks about a certain curb
that's right.
is too high, but it will be now in RaceRoom in this update. I think we have a short video showing the Nordschleife.
Yes, let's take a look at that. That would be really cool.
That's very important for anybody going to do a lap of the tourist layout in real life. Edition.
Really cool scenes from the new Nordschleife.
Yeah.
I think many who also drove the track in real life, they will love it. Like I said, use it for practice there. And so the more detailed, the better it is to prepare for real track day. So that's perfect. And you will also do that on other tracks. For example, Oschersleben, there has been a big change. But maybe you can go more into detail on that.
Oschersleben has been in RaceRoom, I think, since the beginning. It was one of the first tracks we had, and that was like 10 years ago, when you think about it. More than 10 years ago, maybe 11, 12. I lost track. But it was one of the first tracks, and it's a bit like Portimao, also a very old track, and back in the day it was made with the reference we had, and wasn't necessarily the best because we didn't have the tools that we have today. Today we have drones, we have satellite measurements, and we have everything we need to make a track as accurate as we can. Also, laser scanning became a lot cheaper than what it was back then. And for the Oschersleben update, it was made clear that it suffered from some inaccuracies. When Tim Heinemann did the DTM season last year, his first feedback was something's off, because the track in real life doesn't feel exactly like the practice I had. So it was a signal that we need to look into this. So we started looking into how we could reference the track a bit better, making sure that there were some measurements made and all that. And it ended up being a massive redo of the track. Now it's going to be a laser scan version of Oschersleben, and contrary to the other free updates that we have been talking about, this update will be paid for, because it's a complete redo. But in the first days of the release, it will be offered at a discount, so that the loyal customers and everyday players of RaceRoom can enjoy it at a discount. And then after a few days, it will be normal price again.
So you better be fast on getting the new
fast.
update.
As soon as it's released, just jump on it. It's worth it. I mean, I'm not a big fan of turn 1 and turn 2. That's some turns like that in sim racing, and that I just can't understand. And it's Hockenheim turn 1 and Oschersleben turn 2. But now with the laser scan, the camber is slightly different, and it feels different, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it more. So,
That sounds good. So we're excited for the Oschersleben update. And like you said, one of the drivers that has driven in real life and virtually a lot on the Oschersleben racetrack is Tim Heinemann. And we have the pleasure to have him as an interview guest. So let's jump into our interview with Tim. Hi, Tim.
Hello, Tim.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So you listened to what we were talking about, and JF just mentioned you were with Oschersleben, and I think it's so cool that KW has somebody with so much racing experience who can always let the team know what's important, what's essential. So very cool. Do you always have that in mind when you're driving your current season, or how do you... is it your best interest also to keep RaceRoom always up to date?
Yeah, for sure. I don't have it in mind when I'm racing the real races, but in the preparation time, for sure, I try to do my best and to be as helpful as I can. For sure, I'm a very demanding person, let's say, and for sure, I'm not the easiest guy for the developers. But I think this is also important to just improve the game more and more. We saw it on Oschersleben, we saw it on the Nordschleife. For sure, RaceRoom was never massively off on any track. But for example, Oschersleben, there were like 2 or 3 corners where in real life, then you think, it's a bit different than what I've done in the simulator. Maybe it's that you're shifting a bit earlier or later, or you need to brake 5 meters earlier for a corner. And then you feel it. And for sure, you know the track then from the practice on the simulator, but you need a few laps in real life to adapt. And this is costing you some time, important time, because free practice sessions are limited in DTM, and the drive time is really limited. So you need every lap that you can have. So for me, it's really important that the tracks are as accurate as they can. For me, it's really important.
Yeah, and we just before we saw the car pack from 1995. You as same as us. We grew up in a new generation of race cars, GT4 cars, GT3 race cars. But I think there's always still something like nostalgic about the old racing cars, the vibes back in the day with the racing series, the drivers there. How do you feel about the 1995 cars, and do they still appeal to you, or are you more just a current gen guy?
Yeah, I'm more current gen guy. I like the pedal shift, and yeah, 95. I mean, I was born in 97, so it was before I was even born. I know the cars from the AMG e-racing competition in, I think it was 2016 or 17. We were using the 95 C-Class for Mercedes, and yeah, it was really difficult to drive. And to be honest, I prefer the current GT3 cars, which are a bit easier to drive for sure. And it's for sure a lot of fun to drive this old generation cars with a manual gearbox and so on. But yeah, I mean, I get the point and it's fun, but it's not for me. I prefer the new cars.
It's a generation thing because for me, I'm in my 40s and I grew up. I started learning to love motorsport with those cars.
Yeah.
So for me, it's the opposite. Nothing is cooler than a sequential shifter on your side.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also quite cool to match these old race cars with the old racetracks. But basically anything is possible. So you can drive on the new tracks as well, on the new Nordschleife. And Tim, we heard that, of course, you have so many laps on the Nordschleife. And are you excited for the new track updates, specifically on tracks that you are very experienced with? And how do you feel about the new coming up racetracks just from your own experience?
Yeah, for sure, I'm excited. I mean, I had the chance to test the new Nordschleife already, and it's really good. I mean, for sure, there are still 2 or 3 points where it's slightly bit off, which I hope JF can fix.
We can
in
speak
the
after.
development.
And, we still have 1 week, so let's go.
No, but I'm super excited. I mean, I was the first time when I was driving the new Nordschleife, I didn't even knew that it was a new version. I just was randomly driving and I was like, okay, this feels a lot better than anything I have driven before, just because the curbs, the corners, the new Adenauer Force curb, where you can jump really high in the real car, has been updated. And for sure, it's a lot of fun also to see. And it's just great. That you can see your feedback has an influence on the actual game, which for sure is a nice feeling, because when I started with sim racing in 2009 and 2010, I was driving the previous generation of racing, let's say, GT Evolution, and I was a normal player, let's say, and now to be a part of the development team for sure is a nice feeling.
Yeah, very, very cool. And did you also drive Oschersleben already? You have a lot of laps on the DTM there as well. How do you feel about that?
Not yet. Not yet. Shame on me. I was told to drive it before, but unfortunately I had no time yet. But the pictures I saw and the videos I saw looks really promising. Looks really good. Also the new chicane looks really good. So I can't wait to drive Oschersleben as well.
Cool. So you would say RaceRoom right now, with all the new track updates, offers probably is on the top, or where would you say in the competitive field is it right now in terms of track accuracy? I mean, you also have experience with other sims as well. What would you use for training, for example, for the Nordschleife?
I mean, I had this conversation like 1 million times before. And for sure, there are different softwares available. And for me, it always depends on what you need to practice. And for me personally, I like to use RaceRoom, not only because it feels great for me with my settings, with my force feedback and the Nordschleife and so on, and the Falcon tires, or the data we use from the Falcon tire, but also because the tracks I need to practice they are not available in the other simulations. So I can't find Oschersleben in Assetto Corsa. I can't find Oschersleben in iRacing. So I have to use RaceRoom, but I also like to use RaceRoom because, like I said, for me it feels great. For sure, it's not perfect yet. This is why we keep on digging in the development. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense to update the tracks and so on. But I think we are getting there. It's getting better and better. I hope that a few other tracks will be updated as well. I hope the cars will be updated as well in the future. Like I said, I'm a very demanding person, and for sure it's not easy for JF to even have the developers available, because for sure it takes a lot of effort, a lot of time to make this things happen in the game. But like I said, I think we have done a good step already last year or beginning of this year, I think, with the tire update for the Porsche, with the data we used from Falcon, and now we did another massive step with the new graphics, track updates, and so on. So, looking forward for the future.
Yeah, very exciting future ahead for RaceRoom. And of course, we also personally know each other since quite a few years now. So we follow each other's racing journey very closely. We keep the fingers crossed, Tim, definitely. And we have some more interview questions for you coming up for the next topic. But until now, we will start with the next trailer for the new cars that are arriving to RaceRoom JF. It's always great to talk with Tim. Very interesting insights.
Always come out with a lot more work for us to do.
Yeah, you're keeping note on that to-do list.
Yes, everything is written down. So when I'm back in Sweden, we will get to work.
like you said, a very demanding RaceRoom
but it's
player.
Good. It's good because if nobody complains, then we think we're the best, and we never improve.
Yeah.
So it's so important to hear and listen to the feedback.
Absolutely. And now the next topic is really cool, the DTM Car Pack 2024. So we have two new models, the Lamborghini GT3 Evo 2, as well as the McLaren 7020S GT3. Two more exotic cars on that side. So I think the fans will love the variety of the brands that are in the DTM this year. I think a lot of work has gone into the development of these two cars.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's been two new cars. Is always people don't really imagine how much goes into making a car. You have the modeling itself, which can take like 3 months, and then with the 3D and then the texturing. But then after that comes all the physics. And the difficulty with GT3 is that we have such a huge field of GT3s already in RaceRoom, and they have to fit in from the balance of performance. So two new manufacturers, two new cars to introduce, that's not a small undertaking. You have to make sure that they fit in. They're not going to be OP or disappointing in terms of performance. So it's a lot of care went into this pack.
So not only two new models, but also all liveries from the current season will be there. And we have a brand new trailer to show to you guys. So let's start with this one. So exciting DTM footage from the 2024 setup. All liveries are there. Is it actually hard to do all these liveries? You have to get all the logos.
It's always, when it's a current season, it's always a hard thing to do because you reference the cars the first race. And in the middle of the race they have new stickers, like Tim was saying.
Yeah.
And then in the end of the race they have different stickers, and then you have to keep that up to date or keep track of all the changes. Sometimes you have completely different liveries from the beginning of the season to the end, so it's hard when you're making a season, a set of liveries of season that is ongoing, for sure.
Yeah. I know that feeling. Sometimes I put the stickers on myself, and like you said, you have new partners. You have partners that only do a specific race.
Or maybe you fell out with a partner and you no longer want the sticker to be
exactly.
in the
So
game.
you rip it off, and quite a hard job for you guys. I think you maybe have to set like you do it at the beginning of the season or the end.
Yeah.
But I think in the end it's very cool to have them all matching.
Yeah.
And for the fans to get into the cockpit of their favorite driver, their favorite brand. And time to go back to Tim. He has some more stuff to talk with us about. For example, the new cars, which some of them he tested already. So it will be interesting to hear what he has to say. Thank you to have you back, Tim, in our interview. And this year you released the new documentary from your own personal journey from Sim to DTM, which was super cool to watch. Are you still following the current season? And how was the experience filming that documentary and then seeing it out now? And again, small indication to your future plans, specifically with the DTM.
Yeah, for sure. It was super great to film it. I have not watched it yet still. I watched the first episode, but I don't like to watch and hear myself. So I don't know. I haven't watched it, but I hear a lot of great things, which is nice. Nice to hear that you and the community likes it. And for sure, I'm also following the current DTM season. For sure, I would be happy to be in the race car, but it's also fun to watch it from the television because you see it just from a different perspective. Also, when you're not at the track, you see different things happening, which is nice to see it from a spectator's perspective, let's say. And for sure, also a nice experience because the previous years I've always been at the track, and it's nice to just chillax a bit, have a weekend off, and just watch a DTM weekend without any pressure.
Yeah, totally feel you. And this year is the very first year that in RaceRoom the full season with all liveries and all models, which is really cool, will be present in RaceRoom. So 2024 DTM season, you can replicate it one-to-one with your friends, with your own racing series virtually. So how do you feel about the new cars, the new manufacturers, and to have the complete package of the DTM?
Yeah, it's super nice. I mean, I started in 2009, like I mentioned, and back in these days, there was no Porsche in any simulation. There was no Lamborghini. There was no Ferrari. And now to have all these brands, which were for sure difficult to get into RaceRoom, I think, but to have them now in the DTM pack is great, and is also great for the community because you have more cars to choose from. Every driver has its favorite brand now in the game, which is also super nice. And for sure, it's a bit more difficult now for the BOP guys because we have more cars. But just talking about racing, just talking about racing action, for sure, it's a nice add to RaceRoom. And also, I've driven the new Lamborghini already, and it's I drove the Evo 1 version, not the Evo 2. In real life, but it's super close to the real car. Just great that it's finally happening.
It's very interesting that every car has like his own characteristic. So the new McLaren 720S GT3 is now available in RaceRoom, as well as you said, the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo 2. Very spectacular, more exotic cars that are usually not on the DTM grid, but this year we have a really cool variety of cars and brands in the DTM, and of course also your personal car from last year is inside the game. How I think you have the most experience and values from your own experience in the virtual and the real world with that car. How does it feel to have exactly that car in the game? And how realistic
First
is it?
of all, it's the story, like I said, it started in 2009, and I was painting my own cars in GT Evolution, and I was trying to be a painter, and then I was trying to do my own sim racing team, and what we've been doing back then in the communities, and my dream always was to have like an official car in the game. And now I have plenty of cars in RaceRoom and in different games, and to have that car, the From Sim to DTM car in RaceRoom for sure is just really nice. Some stickers are wrong, but this is just because we added a few more stickers in the middle of the season. It's just nice to see, and I like to use it. I also like to use my own Falcon car, which is also in the game. And just to complete the story, it's just super nice, and I also think the community likes this livery a lot, and a lot of sim racers are using it, which is also nice to see, because this was our goal when we were creating this livery with JP Performance, and our goal was always just not to make a nice looking race car, but also have an influence on the community of the real racing car painters and the sim racing car painters. And I think, this is what we achieved. So yeah, it's just great.
Yeah, 100% agree to that. I can totally relate. My dream was to have like a model car from exactly my race car. So I'm still working on that, but really, really cool to see.
You can have mine.
And the DTM Esports Championship is coming back this year. Will we see you maybe there?
Chris is always forcing me to try, but I'm just too slow. Honestly, this is the main reason. I'm just too slow. Maybe it is because I was focusing too much on the real racing weekends, or I don't know, maybe it's my setup. I now have a direct drive wheel, I have the active pedal, triple screen. I have all that, but I can't get up to speed. I don't know why. Maybe I have to spend more time in RaceRoom, to spend more time in fine-tuning my setups. But if I'm quick enough, for sure I would be happy to join. But I also don't want to be in the last position every race. So it just depends on my speed.
Yeah, and races like you, also Jan Mardenborough, Moritz, they show that there's a way from a virtual world or not a professional karting Formula world into racing. Do you hope more drivers will follow?
Yes, 100%. And I still believe it's a big shame that not more brands, car manufacturers, championships are spending more money on that, because it's, in comparison to karting, it's so cheap to run a sim racing team, or to get sim racers into a real racing car. And I'm really upset about that. So I'm already working on some projects to just do it myself, to just get some sim racers together, put them in the real racing car, find some sponsors for it. And maybe there's not a big plan behind it, but just to give them the experience of driving a real racing car, because I have these discussions so often with sim racers when they tell me how the car should feel, and I'm telling them, no, this is not how it feels in real life. Just to show them and give them the feeling of how it feels, and the real race car would be a big dream of mine. For sure, it's still expensive to run a real racing car, but my dream would be that a lot more sim racers can make it happen, like I did. But on the other hand, at the time I was going from virtual to real, let's say, it was a bit easier, honestly, than nowadays, just because with COVID and so on, and Max Verstappen pushing sim racing a lot, there are even more sim racers now, and the level is so high nowadays. The competition is so good, so it's really hard to stand out of all these other good drivers, which was a bit easier in my days, let's say. And yeah, but like I said, my dream would be to get all the sim racing community together and just put them in a real GT4, GT3 car, whatever, and just have some great fun and a good day.
Yeah, and to share the feeling of how it just feels, how you get goosebumps while driving. It's just a great feeling, and the more people that experience it, yeah.
You know it, and I know it how it feels, but like I said, I had the discussion. Yeah, you want to share it, but you cannot share it. You just cannot share it when you watch the onboard videos or the GoPro POV footage and so on. It's just different. And I mean, my simulator is really high end, like a triple screen active panel and so on. And I'm really 99% perfect, let's say. I have all the measurements and so on, or the angles of my real Porsche cockpit. So it's really close. But still, it just feels a bit different. And for sure, G-forces are missing, but also just the surroundings and the cockpit, but all the preparation. You know, you're driving in your private car to the racetrack, and this whole feeling is just different. And this is what I want to share. And like I said, it's super expensive, but it's not impossible. And this is what I would like to work on and to focus on, for the future, to just share my experiences.
Yeah, sounds like a very promising, very cool project. I think it's very deep and rooted to share that feeling. So it would be great to give more people the opportunity to feel the same. And the last question, if us or the racing fans out there want to follow your journey this year, what are the next races for this year, 2024, to follow you?
Yeah, I mean, you're all invited to follow me on Instagram. My next race is in 1.5 months, I think, or even 2 months, with the Falcon team on the Nordschleife. Maybe there's a race in between before, but the only confirmed plan is the single race. Maybe another one later in November, also on the Nordschleife. And then I'm currently working on my winter program in Asia, which is always, I mean, you know it yourself. It's always difficult to make all this stuff happen, because there's unfortunately a lot of money always involved. But even if it's just the single race on the Nordschleife with Falcon, I would be super happy, because I like to represent Falcon. It's a big brand in the whole world, and it was always my dream to be on the Falcon Porsche on the Nordschleife. So this is nice. And apart from that, like I said, unfortunately, we, or even myself, we have to wait. And my big goal is to do more races in 2025 and to concentrate on my main season for next year.
Yeah, we wish you the best. Keep the input coming to JF and the team. I think it's very valuable, and they are very happy about it. And of course, the sim racing fans out there as well. Very cool. Thank you for your time, Tim, and see you soon.
Yeah, thank you. JF always says it's super nice to get my feedback, but you haven't seen the text messages. But thank you as well for your time, and enjoy.
Cool. Thank you, Tim.
Bye-bye.
Very insightful talk with Tim. It's so cool to follow him closely on his journey and all the other races that came from sim to the real world, and to experience it firsthand. And we have a big update, a big news coming in now for all the RaceRoom fans out there with our next topic. The graphics update is finally there. What can you tell us about it?
It's a bit of feeling, because as you know, I mean, RaceRoom has been out there for 10 years, a bit longer than 10 years now. So it has been a story with ups and downs, and several studio restructurations and stuff like that. And sometimes we were very close to make big improvements, but we couldn't. And now it feels like all the stars are finally aligning, and we can, move forward in significant steps. We've made many smaller steps in the last 10 years, sometimes a bit more significant. We did the force feedback, for example, the new Timetable that we were talking about with Tim. And now it's always been in the last weeks, months, RaceRoom is feeling so good. If only it had better graphics. And
finally,
yes,
finally.
of course, and we wanted that as well. Obviously, just like all the players out there, because we do play our own game. So now we have found ways into the engine. Because it's an engine that has been made, originally it finds its roots into Race Pro, a title based on Racer 7 for Xbox back in 2008, I think. And that was the rendering engine that was made for that, with many tweaks, improvements and all that over the years. And the original developers of that engine are no longer with us. So it was a bit of a rediscovery, trying to figure it out, having the talent needed to look into rendering code is not obvious for all programmers. Programmers are a bit like doctors; they need specialization, and they like a certain area of programming. And rendering is quite special in that from that point of view. Yeah. So we have the chance to have in our team Thomas Jansen, who's a young guy full of talent. He redid the force feedback. And now he started looking into, the rendering, and that's a topic of passion for him. So, we have a very passionate team, and thankfully, and we have big graphic updates coming.
Yeah, and you can talk all you want about graphics, but you actually have to see them and experience them. That's why we have the trailer coming up now, the new graphic trailer for RaceRoom. Let's go. The long-awaited and highly anticipated graphics update for RaceRoom is finally. So I think everybody is going to look forward to that. I think it was a missing part of the whole RaceRoom world. So I think now big changes have been made. Maybe you can go more into detail about what you guys did, and also with our interview guest Thomas from your development team later on.
All right, yeah. The graphic update has been 6 month work. We started right after the vacation, the Christmas vacation in 2024. And it's been about rediscovering the engine, the rendering engine. The reason we had to rediscover it, restudy it, is because it was made so long ago by a different team. Not so much documentation available about how we did things. So we had to, dig deep, looking under the hood, and see how pixels were showing up on the monitors. And while learning this, figuring out how we could make things better looking, better performing, while also never killing the immersion, because you can swap engines, you can do a lot of graphic updates where suddenly you have trees that look a bit different and pop into existence or start flickering. So we wanted this update to be as smooth looking as possible with no immersion killers. So yeah, a lot of work has been going into this update, but we're not really done. So we want to do more. So we're not stopping here. After this update comes out, we will keep on working and trying to improve the engine even further and push the envelope a bit.
So better performance, improved visuals. I think a lot under the hood that we can't see, but
absolutely,
but that are in the end result of the new update. So that's very cool, and it's a very unusual process the way you had to work on this one. And somebody who actually did all the digging was Thomas from your development team, and it's great to have him with us today in the interview. So let's jump into our interview with Thomas.
Everyone, this is Thomas Jansen. Maybe you can introduce yourself a bit, how you got into the team, and because the community knows you already from past updates and videos that we published from the Force Feedback update. We were together at the Sim Racing Expo in Dortmund last year and got to meet some of the community. So maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so originally I was actually just a player. I used to play RaceRoom, and yeah, I really liked the game, and eventually I got in touch with some beta testers for the game that actually got me into the beta testing team as well. And when I was testing there, I also got in touch with especially the physics developer, Alex Hodgkinson. And because I was helping him a lot, I eventually kind of like walked into the company, basically, also becoming a developer.
I did let you in.
And yeah, at the start I was mainly focused on physics, where I did the big force feedback update, of course. But when we started kind of theorizing some graphics improvement earlier this year, I started to help on that, and I definitely found I was really enjoying it. And yeah, we kind of needed someone to start looking into the whole engine, because as Jeff said, the original creators of the engine, they're not really working with us anymore. So we didn't really have anyone with the expertise of the engine. So we had the engine to work with, but we didn't really know how it worked from the inside. So that's basically been my job for the past 6 months, is just taking the whole graphics engine inside and out, looking at everything, how it works. And while we were doing that, just taking a look at what can we improve, how can we make the performance better, how can we make it look better. And yeah, I think we've actually made a lot more progress than we expected at the start of this, which was a really nice surprise. Like, we just kept discovering new things we could improve.
So the mission was to first understand the old engine, and then at the same time seeing what you can improve, and specifically what were like the major changes that you could work on and that you improved to make it look as good as it does now.
Yeah, so one of the main things is that, of course, the engine is very old, which makes it not really use the modern graphics hardware anymore. Like, modern GPUs are just not really used properly by the engine, because it's those GPUs didn't exist back then. So there was no point in making the graphics really nice, because no hardware could run it. But at the same time, the CPU is also very limiting in our game, because it's not very optimized for many different cores. So basically what we wanted to look at is if we can shave any performance of the CPU side, and we can also make the visuals a lot better on the GPU side, because the GPUs aren't used anyway, so the more we use it, it's basically better looking for free.
Mhm.
And on the CPU side, we can gain a lot of performance. So that's exactly what we've done. We've made quite a few changes on making sure we only really make the computer render what you can actually see. Because on the old build, actually a lot of what you can't see is still being rendered, which costs a lot of performance for literally no visual gain. So that was quite a nice discovery that we could get a lot of improvement there. And at the same time, on the GPU side, we've done a lot of changes on the shaders, which make probably the biggest difference in how the game looks. And one of my favorite changes has been the shadows, which I've worked on a lot, and which I've always kind of disliked how they looked in our game, because they were always just moving and creeping and jagged in the distance, which was very distracting while driving. And apart from wanting to make the game look a lot better, I think our main priority has also been to make the game look as clean as possible. So reduce any distractions, because that's in the end what you want. The game can look nice, but if you have stuff popping in and everything just moving across the screen where it shouldn't be moving, it's just distracting you while driving. And in the end, we're still a driving simulator, and the driving should be the most important.
It's an immersion killer when you have, like, I don't know, trees that change shape as you get closer to them, and anything popping up. You also fixed Z-fading, which is when two textures are very close to each other and at a distance, the game doesn't know which one is in front, and it's fighting for the first row. And Thomas managed to fix that as well, which was like problematic on large tracks such as the Nordschleife. And now it's all smooth, nothing popping in, nothing flickering. It's really, really great looking, and nothing kills your immersion as you drive, like Thomas was saying. So, he mentioned the performance, but I think the Nordschleife 24 hours layout, with all those tents and camping cars and stuff like that, they were always rendered. But now you have do you have the figures in mind, Thomas, how much performance you shaved from Nordschleife 24 hours?
Yeah, just from not actually rendering what was being rendered before on the Nordschleife 24-hour layout was probably about 40 to 50% better performance.
Wow.
And it's a track that we didn't dare putting in ranked because there were often those complaints about performance of that layout. And
now it's possible.
Now it's possible.
Yeah.
So,
very cool. Very.
Chef 24 on ranked championship soon. Hopefully.
Major change. And I heard also the skies, they look much better now with how the clouds are evolving. Maybe you can let us know what happened there exactly to make it better.
Yeah, in the skies now they are dynamic in a way. So you can start your race in clear sky, blue sky, and then end it up with overcast, full cloud coverage, which is really nice. And if you go in multiplayer, you can set up your servers to have exactly the cloud coverage you want in sequence. So in the tests we did this week, we had sky transitions, and it's really impressive. I mean, it's smooth. It's very nice. So
cool. Thomas, very impressive journey. So Tim did it from sim racing to race driving. You did it from sim racing to being part of the development team, which is really cool. That there are all these journeys happening not only on track but also beside the track. I think that's very exciting.
Funnily enough, that was my journey as well. I started as a beta tester for Racer 7.
And now you're here.
So yeah,
cool.
I also walked into Simbin like Thomas.
Yeah, really cool. So Thomas, we wish you the best. I'm looking forward to what more changes are coming up also by your signature in the future. So very excited to see that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.
big changes, a big update coming up on September 4th, and we are looking forward to it. And the guys who took a close look at the scenes before, they saw some drifting footage actually.
Yeah, I mean it's been a not really well kept secret because I think we went to some events already. Was it SN Motor Show where we featured drifting, and the reason we have drifting in RaceRoom at the moment, behind the curtains, is events. Like I said, we have been approached back in 22, I think, by the Red Bull Drift Brothers, and they were looking for some platform that could provide them with realistic drifting, and that came at the moment where we were redoing our force feedback in the game. And it kind of made sense to take that as a prototype project, so that we could also validate the force feedback was, physics based, and in drifting you do a lot of the car control through the throttle, and you have to let the car react through the steering wheel. And if you have any noise, any non-physics based force feedback coming into the wheel at that moment, it will ruin your slide. So it was an interesting thing to validate the force feedback. So we took that on, and they were happy. But then, drifting inside RaceRoom, it's a weird fit at the moment. So we don't really have a room where we can fit that in. It needs a lot of tracks. It needs a lot of cars, and that means a dedicated development cycle just to push out content. So the idea with drifting right now is going to be just event based, some sandbox drifting, so that you can enjoy sliding inside the game. But we want to do events. We want to do a stream where there will be a competition with the jury, a live jury. So that is the idea behind this. It's more, more something organized, but the player will be able to enjoy it as a sandbox. Really.
Yeah, a very cool add-on feature for all the drift fans out there. I think very interesting. Like I said, it's a much different feel to how the wheel face and the driving feels.
And then hardware becomes very important.
Yeah.
I had the chance to try drifting today with the nice setup there, and it feels very different from home. It's a lot easier when you have direct drive, and you have
a handbrake maybe,
and a properly set up force feedback in the driver. Like I said, you need no noise, you need no added effects. It needs to be physics, just feeding into the wheelbase.
And we have some unseen video footage of the drifting sandbox, playground, whatever you name it, just to take a look at, just raw in-game footage. Really cool to see.
So yeah, a very exciting drifting sandbox that comes to RaceRoom. You've seen in the video, you've seen some sort of gymkhana area where it's actually located in RaceRoom Raceway, the track that is free to play for RaceRoom players. And next to the bridge, there was a lake, a small part of the lake there that we asphalted and put some toys there to slide around and do some fun stuff and burn some rubber. So it will be something that is available as a sandbox, just for you to have fun, try and learn how to slide a car in a controlled way and go sideways without destroying the car. Because it is counterintuitive. You don't want the car to go sideways, but in here you have to go against your instincts as a driver. So it's a bit different skills.
Different style of driving.
Different style,
Yeah,
absolutely. So the drifting content doesn't really fit inside RaceRoom. We always do race tracks, regular tracks, and actual racing. And when you do drifting, you want all kinds of tracks, a lot of variety of cars, which we can't really do without having a focused development cycle just doing content for drift. Right now, we're not at that step at all. We want that to be event-oriented, so expect some streams, special events on our YouTube channel where we will have a competition of community members that excel at going sideways and doing it wrong, and with a live jury on stream. Sorry, I'm suddenly hearing myself. Something is happening. Is everything okay? I can just go on, or? Did you mute me, or should I just go on? Okay, you can edit this. All right. So I was saying it would be event oriented. So we've been to Essen Motor Show with some drifting setups. The one that is next to us here has a handbrake, also sequential shifter. Everything you need for drifting is in there. And we will show this again at the Sim Expo in Dortmund later this year. So if you are interested in drifting and want to try what it feels like in RaceRoom, you can visit us in Dortmund at the Sim Expo and say hi there. We will make sure you have a good time in those simulators.
Yeah, and until then, there's so much more now to do in RaceRoom with new cars, new tracks, old cars, old tracks as well. So I think our RaceRoom enthusiasts will be busy until the Sim Racing Expo, until we see them there in person. And actually, there's also, of course, a new graphics update, but there are, of course, still more features that will follow in future. Yeah. Maybe you can let us know when is that planned, which features are currently on top of your list, which are maybe not so relevant at the moment.
Well, the graphic updates that we are shipping in September, 4th of September, is a first step. It's what we could have done. It's what we could do within the 6 months that we just spent. But a bit like Thomas was saying during the interview, we have now learned this engine, and we can do even better, improve the rendering further, consider going, with DirectX upgrades, things that we have been wanting to do, but we're lacking the manpower or the knowledge of the engine. So these are doors that are now opening towards the future, and the comments that we see in the community, it's always about when are you getting the rain in RaceRoom, when are you getting driver swap, when are you getting night cycle and things like that. We're not ready for that at the moment, but we have a door that just opened, and we can get it done. We are at Cadbury Studios right now looking to recruit a senior programmer, because driver swap in a multiplayer race requires network code changes, something that we don't really have an expertise yet. Right now we are building our expertise in rendering, which is great. We want to, not stop there. We want to bring a lot of features to RaceRoom. So it's not over. It's going for another 10 years.
So it's just a start, and exciting and bright future ahead for the RaceRoom fans and sim racing fans around the world. And also, if you're a very avid senior programmer, get in touch with the team at KW.
I will leave my email under the video description.
Thank you so much, Chef. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Really cool talking to you and hosting the very first episode of the RaceRoom Grid Talk with you.
It was a pleasure.
And the next one is coming up, coming soon. We're looking forward to that. And until then, take care. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.